Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Earlier today, I was driving in. I was listening to Hester and T-Bob on Off the Bench, and they had Nick Underhill on. Of course, Nick does a great job, New Orleans.football. And it struck me, there's been a lot of conversation this offseason, naturally, about Ryan Ramczyk. We've talked about it, as has everybody, right? And Dennis Allen at the Combine seemed optimistic about Ramczyk's future. And then at the owners' meetings, Dennis Allen seemed decidedly less optimistic about Ryan Ramczyk and how they're going to take it slowly, and you get closer and see how they manage it. Well, Nick, who is as plugged in as anybody on the Saints beat, obviously has great information, was on OTB today, and he gave this opinion about Ryan Ramczyk. Just give a listen.
I just don't see him playing again. I just, like, if I had to bet today, you're asking me to go to draft to place a bet on it. Like, I'm betting on him not playing. And
so that was just a very short bite, right? And he gave a longer explanation. I would highly recommend you go listen to it on demand, go watch it on YouTube, and see the full interview that the guys did with Nick. But when someone like Nick says that, my antenna goes up. And it wasn't declarative in the sense that he was breaking news. He was very clear, like, that was an opinion. And maybe it's something where they treat it this year, and contractually it might make more sense if he retires, as post-June 1 next year. So there's a lot of that there. Now, again, I would highly recommend, for context, you go listen to the entire thing. I'm not going to play like the full 5-minute back and forth here, but go check it out. But when you hear that, and Nick's saying based on all the information he has, he'd have to think Ramczyk doesn't play. Well, if that's the case, and that dramatically alters not your target, because I think we all know that the Saints have to target offensive tackle in this draft. That it's not a want, it's not a need, it's not even a must. Whatever a must times a bajillion is, that's what offensive tackle is for the Saints. You don't have a left tackle. Of course, last year you rotated players there. Trevor Penning couldn't cut it. Andres Pete ended up playing left tackle for you. James Hurst played some left tackle before his injury. So you don't have a left tackle, and the guy who's your franchise right tackle might be done. So you might be going into this offseason, and remember, Andres Pete's still a free agent, so he was really, for part of last season, where you're starting left guard, you might be replacing 3 offensive linemen this year. Now, your line wasn't any good last year, so that's a big part of going, all right, well, could it really be any worse? But you want to fortify that group. The only way that Derek Carr can get better within this offense is if he's upright. The only way your running game can improve is if they have holes to run through. So, yeah, you need to fortify your line. So tackle has become just the absolute must. Like, I don't know how the Saints at 14 do anything other than tackle, unless if they trade up to take a tackle. But if they stay at 14, you got to pick the best tackle that's on the board. Mel Kiper and Field Yates did like a dueling mock draft where Mel picked first, Field picked second, Mel picked third, Field picked fourth, so on and so forth. When it got to the 14th pick, it was Field Yates, and of course he picked Olu Fashanu from Penn State. And this is the guy that I've told you for weeks and weeks and weeks that he's my dream scenario target. If he's on the board, I'd love for the Saints to pick him at 14. And Field Yates notes that New Orleans' offensive tackle situation is too murky to ignore, and Fashanu would be an ideal combination of need and value. The Saints can slot him in either right or left side, depending on Ramczyk's status and what they decide to do with Trevor Penning. So, look, I think I'll continue to say, man, I don't know that Trevor Penning is going to play tackle in the NFL. But it stands to reason when you have a guy that's big and physical like he is, that he should be able to help you in the run game. You put him in a phone booth. So if you put him at left tackle, and you sandwich in between a really good center and Eric McCoy and left guard, you sandwich in between a really good center and Eric McCoy and whoever is your left tackle. Maybe it's a rookie in Fashanu. You'd be very young on the left side of your line there with a third-year player in Penn, who, of course, missed the majority of his rookie season and only started a handful of games this past year before going to the bench. And then a rookie potentially in Fashanu, whoever it may be. That's not ideal, but it does set you up potentially for the future with two young guys on the left side who could continue to get better. It just continues to strike me how every mock draft that you look at, and especially if it's a 2-round mock, it's always tackle at 14, receiver at 45. And this one's no different. Mel Kiper made the pick for the Saints at 45 in this dueling mock draft, and he had the Saints taking Ricky Pearsall out of Florida. He notes Pearsall played with Jaden at Arizona State before transferring to Florida. And you do need wide receiver help. And so it's going to be a question of who do the Saints feel is the best wide receiver on the board at 45, provided that's where they go. And sometimes the way that I look at it is, all right, well, who else is on the board at the time you pick? And one pick after the Saints, they have Jalen Polk out of Washington going to the Colts. And I don't know, man, maybe it's just his size, but I kind of think that Polk would be a better prospect than Pearsall. Although Pearsall was a productive player, candidly got to meet and interview Ricky at SEC Media Days last year in Nashville. Good dude who interestingly, not only did Pearsall play with Jaden Daniels at Arizona State, but he was roommates with Jordan Clark, Ryan Clark's son, at Arizona State. So a lot of connections there, and everybody raves about him. He was great to interview, got tons of swag, and made some brilliant catches last year for Florida. But you wonder, like, is there maybe a more accomplished or bigger-bodied receiver who might project better? I don't know, but so much of that just comes down to how do you have your board set up. But tackle, receiver at 14-45, it's just hard to imagine the Saints going any other way, and especially if things are trending that direction with Ryan Ramczyk, where maybe he's not able to play ever again, then I don't know how there's any other decision you can make if you're the Saints. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.